Proszę Państwa, następnym prelegentem będzie dr Marek Dudek, już wywołany tutaj kilka razy w poprzednich prezentacjach. Marek jest...
Our next speaker is Marek Dudek. He is the head of the DigiNet PL for more than 4 years and for many years involved in the internet issues on combating illegal content and technological threats. He works for Polish Telecommunication. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome one group of delegates here, my colleagues from other hotlines who came to this conference, and I'd like to welcome ladies who probably form a hotline center in Moscow. Well, my presentation, I think I've lost it somewhere.
Temat, który chciałbym Państwu przedstawić,
the subject of my presentation is closely related to what we do in our hotline. We've been discussing this issue for quite a long time. Who should be the speaker here? I think this should be a lawyer, but a person who is an expert in law could have some dilemmas. How to present these issues, because the thesis that I will present to you result from direct activity of the DigiNet team for 8 years in the area of safe internet. And since I am the first of the speakers having this presentation within the Safer Internet program in Poland, so I will give you information about teams in our project. That's the awareness team. Their task is to organize conferences, trainings, in general education. There is also a helpline team. This is an online team which is based on the Nobody's Children Foundation and employing psychologists. So there is a special phone line, and there is a team directed mainly to assist children and youth and assisting them in threats, reporting to them, particularly directed to grooming, and the intervention group that is led by myself. And Nobody's Children Foundation and NASK have a single contract with European Union, and we have one common purpose. We cooperate with a lot of other organizations, state agencies, NGOs, and I'd like to mention the names. You see it on a screen. And the most important for us is the cooperation with network administrators. And because of the reports, this platform of with internet servers and internet content providers. The consulting committee, which was mentioned by the director at the very beginning of the conference, has been operating from the beginning of Hotline project, and representatives from Ministry for Interior, Ministry for Education, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Labor, and other organizations. We meet at least once a year, and we also meet at other platforms, but you will see that data in my presentation. So I think the list included all the organizations involved in the works of this committee. As you know, in every state, the law is slightly different. Everybody wants to be active, but you have to observe the law. And when we look into our law in Poland, we already here have very different definitions, which causes some problems for us. We have a minor person, that is a person under 17. Then there is a person under 21, and at the moment of court decision making under 24, there is a person under 18 years of age, and we have a person over 18. So please have a look that through the marriage, a minor may become a major. So he would not lose that category even if the marriage is cancelled. And we have pictures on the net. We don't know the status of the person. Age is really difficult to be defined. And here I'd like to remind you some statistics which are already well known about the number of games used mostly by the children. For today, we know of 2.5 million games. In 4 years, we expect to have 4 million. So why am I mentioning that? Because most of these games have a platform to communicate between the users. And we have cases reported to our team where users report the attempts to contact them by young game users or players of the suspects. So they usually suspect that it's not a kid, it's an adult person interested in grooming, really. And we do not have children between 8 to 15 years, where, as we've seen before, they are much better in internet knowledge than their parents. You don't have children between 12 and 15, where they are better than their in 72% families, they have better knowledge than their parents. And internet is not just pornography and pedophilia. These minors use internet, they use chat rooms, they place pictures and images of different type and character. But if you look in a broader way on the safety of kids on the internet, you must also not forget about different types of transactions. Transactions which are contracted by people who know how to operate on eBay or on Allegro, and they are still minors. So what are the problems? We already had that from Mr. Bush, the lack of definition of child pornography. A lot of countries, including Poland, have no clear definition of child pornography. It may change, but it's for today. No regulations for cyber pornography, very realistic films and images where it's really difficult that it's an effect of a software or graphic software. So you see some individuals, you see some actions. It's extremely difficult for prosecutor's office where they need a victim. And here you have no victim in a meaning of the actor as the person abused. So there is the whole phenomena of cyber pornography or child abuse. Lack of regulations for manufacturing recording and import of pornographic content with the participation of minors below 15. And no regulations for export, distribution and owning by minors under 15. Very important issues when certain actions are taken by the police. A good solution and perhaps or definitely uniformization of legislation would be adoption of EU legislations like facultative facultative protocol to the Children Protection Convention, and this is a document that has already been quoted here, where you have the definition of child trafficking, and in the teams who started this work, they suggest that this should be part of Polish law. And now the framework decision 2004/68, it again regulates important issues until now absent in the Polish law. There is a definition of child pornography. And a final document, very important here, is the Convention on Cyber Crime, and again child pornography is mentioned there. Why in this convention there is a justification? Because these issues must be discussed because the network systems and devices are used to transfer child pornography. What are the major legal issues? I have collected them for the benefit of all governmental and organizations and NGOs who work with our committee and who cooperate with the headquarters of the Polish police. The decision that cyber pornography is a crime, an important issue. We have more and more of this type of content on the net, and more and more of that is reported. The uniform age between 15 and 18 is a special care period of age, and it's present in many legal documents, in many codes. So this must be clarified, and this must be decided in a uniform manner. And something which is already in force in other countries, the financial agreement between banks, which result in all transactions which are related to internet services for fee are that they would be blocked in case of child pornography. So this must be a uniform procedure for both prosecutor's office and the banks. So for that we need a legal basis. And we have quite a large number of these reports related to paid pages. So every time that somebody enters a website and we receive information about the address of the website, we immediately refer the case to the police or the prosecutor's office. And frequently we receive the reply that if you look at the web page, you don't have this content. No, you don't have it on the first page, but you have to go deeper. Then the police provocation for child pornography. And for that we have a specific list of crimes among which there is no child pornography. And another element, we have a provision, but it's a death provision in Article 202 of Criminal Code. This is the loss of assets in cases of child pornography. We had cases where there was a court decision and the hard disk and the disks were returned to that person because this was not subject to the court decision. And another important issue, you could also read something in Polish media. Prohibition of work in education system for former pedophiles. A very wide issue. But if there is a court decision stating that this is a case of pedophilia and that he has a criminal record, then he should be kept away from educational system. And this information should also be available on the net. Another issue, introduction of oversight over pedophiles. Currently, if they leave prisons after their sentence, are not controlled. And many of them continue the same actions, and we have such information. And another issue, also important because of the specificity of the Internet, the introduction of the country of origin and country of destination. It's clear, but it must be verbally said that content produced in one country may be presented in another country. This is a problem for prosecutors and lawyers. And it is obvious that if you have a content which is forbidden in one country, for instance, related to racism or xenophobia, is presented in the United States in Polish and for Poles, not for anybody else, then there is a legal problem. How can you prosecute them? And
then it's a question of the legal system in a given country. Take the United States. Racist and xenophobic content that's prohibited in Poland is not prohibited in the States to the extent it is in Poland. Different legal systems. And another set of issues, technical issues, but these technical issues, for them to be carried out, you need a legal dimension, modified or taken into account what needs to be done. The first relevant thing is filtering sites and content to filter out child pornography, but this should be done by the providers, by the operators. Filtering can be done at various levels and should. Filtering and a filtering program should be installed on the end user's computer. Second level is the content provider who should have task forces, and the third level should be done at the Internet Service Provider level. If in states, in countries where there is a single large provider that has one group of access channels to the net, the web, it's simpler than it is in Poland, for instance, when we have several large ISPs. And apart from the financial contribution that requires, it also needs a legal framework, legal basis. As we know, such approaches are already being used in Scandinavia, and there's also a working system they have in France since July of this year. Following the signing of an agreement between the government and the operator and the provider, it was a high-level political decision, and the media love such topics. It's debatable because it's seen as intervention, as an intrusion into freedom, a government intervention, government intrusion, tampering with freedom of information on the web. But if the filtering is done only to root out child pornography, such debates should effectively not take place.
W którym miejscu stanąłem? Właśnie. Zobowiązanie administratorów do usuwania blokowania treści
should undertake to remove or delete questionable content. In Poland, at the moment, we have an act on provision of services, of electronic services, which contains an Article 14 that is being applied in practice, and when we get in touch with the administrator, with the sysadmin, there's a lot of cases where actually internet users want a film, a photo, or some content removed by the administrator. Another relevant thing, we need to implement an age verification system. This is unquestionable, this is clear, and one could prepare a system of age verification. The safeguards we have in Poland and elsewhere, if you access a website, you have two yes or no, enter or exit, but then it's up to the user to declare whether they are 18 or not. Okay, I'm 18, I'm over 18, enter, and that's the only safeguard, the only security we have. A website had a list of years, and the user should select their year of birth. It's great for kids who don't know numbers, but it's not really a problem for anybody else. Automatic blocking of internet users, blocking access, so users who are already caused problems for other users and administrators on one server should be banned from other servers, but we don't have that. ICPs should have separate, dedicated sex sites, separate from other sites. Well, we've had information where a youth-oriented or a child-oriented portal had links to porn sites, which clearly stood out in terms of the font and the color of the link. There was another company that produced educational software for preschoolers, put that on a CD along with a hot link to an update, and 2 years later it turned out that the update, the link to update an educational package, the URL, was full of pornographic content. So you can imagine what ensued. ICPs should also implement an interface to post erotic or pornographic content. If a user has that content and wants to share it, wants to upload it, then they should have a dedicated interface to decide what to classify that content. When the admins talking to users find out that they have 40 or 60,000 photos uploaded a day, they're not able to control, to sift through all that, so we need a tool for persons who want to upload photos, such photos, and users should know that there are teams like ours who can be advised of this, and we normally have good relations with administrators and can get these photos removed quickly. And another technical issue, we need to implement a common platform to handle applications or information nationwide, or in fact Europe-wide. We have more task forces. Everybody's doing their own classification. A good example here is the InHope association, where the people taking in that information class it, rank it according to a single rule, to the rule we have in our association. You can analyze it, you can do the statistics. Government initiatives now. From the beginning of September, in the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, or the Prime Minister's office, has set up a team to fight discrimination of minors in the electronic media. And I attended that meeting, or one of those first meetings, and it turned out that most of the members of that task force had worked with us in the Consultative Advisory Committee. It's great, because people from all of these institutions that for 4 years now have been involved with these issues, they're familiar with the problem, they know how to address these issues, they know the problems we have, the ones I listed. So the task force also includes specialists from various fields, and then subdivided into working groups. Our Safer Internet project is represented at this high-level team by 5 people, and this is just the beginning. We're in early September. And with this group of specialists, specialists who know the conventions that I referred to, who know the protocols, we will hopefully be able rapidly to implement changes in the law. These are the tasks of the task force, of the team, to carry out the requisite changes in Polish legislation, implement best practice, comprehensively implement the practices that I referred to, implement best practice throughout the world. So if a given country has found a way, has succeeded, such as France, the UK, or the USA, if certain solutions work in France, they would work in Poland conceivably, but that would sometimes require changing the law. And this high-level task force in the Prime Minister's office will also be charged with conducting social awareness campaigns addressed to parents, teachers, and young people on fighting cybercrime, and this ought to be implemented in the environment we have in Poland, in the roughly 40,000 schools we have at various levels. So that's a daunting task, it's a lot of work. And the fourth task is to reform the educational system, working closely with schools. There's a second team. Well, actually, we have several such teams in various ministries, but the second team, recently mentioned by the media, is the anti-pedophile team at the Ministry of the Interior. That's just getting going. I don't know the exact brief of that team, but other government initiatives, other government schemes, racism and xenophobia are also matters that we want to counter, to combat. So we're finding out from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Administration about the various initiatives. There is, for instance, a nationwide program for the prevention of racial discrimination, xenophobia, and intolerance, whose main coordinator is the government plenipotentiary for equal treatment. There's an anti-hate crime program for law enforcement agencies, a program to fight hate crimes. And the last slide on government initiatives, working on the Non-Discrimination or Equal Treatment Act, which is related with the comprehensive implementation of Directive 2000/43 of June 29, 2000, introducing the principle of equal treatment or non-discrimination regardless of racial and ethnic origin. My presentation would not be complete without a graph, without statistics on the workings of the team I head. From January through August, we took over 2,400 calls on child pornography. The distribution month by month differs, but this reflects on the awareness of Internet users. The rule we have is in keeping with Polish legislation, is that we do not search for this content online ourselves. So the fact that there is a low in a given month, it doesn't mean that we weren't looking, but this simply has to do with the number of calls that we got from Internet users. And these are anonymous calls. Many Internet users give us their email address or give us their phone number, and then we can respond, we can tell them, we can follow up that call, but never over these 4 years did the police or the prosecutor's office ever demand the personal data of a caller from us. The police are interested in the person who uploads this content, not the person who stumbled across it online. And another chart, another graph, the last one, the green one, is the feedback, the replies, perhaps 4 years in, and thanks to the rules we've adopted, Internet users have come to trust us, perhaps, and then they write or they request feedback, they want follow-up, they want us to tell them what we've done with the information they've supplied. We mainly refer this information to our partners, to our 32 partners around the world. Above all, we identify where the server is. We're interested in the technical specifications, the physical location of the server, and then we send that information to our partners or the police. If it's a server in Poland and the content is explicit, if it clearly involves child pornography, then we inform the police. And the light green bar indicates that, many issues are referred to administrators. Administrators will then remove the content. To wrap up, we have 3 elements. We have the regulations, which are necessary. We have the 2 official high-level teams at the Prime Minister's office and at the Home Office that are charged with changing the law. In order for this reform to be done well, there's a practice, activity, and reacting. We provide help with our efforts, with what we do in the teams and our cooperation, and hopefully these decisions and these legal reforms will be successful, will be effective. We also need to get on board the schools, education, the entire education system, because in the 40,000 schools we have, through the schools we can reach all the young people in Poland today. we need to work with ISPs and ICPs, Internet Content Providers, for the filtering to be done. And we also need to respond to what's already online, what's already been posted. And we can delete that content only if we're serious about it. We have the police, we have the prosecutor's office, we have the courts. In order for prosecution to be carried out, we need cooperation between all the law enforcement and justice agencies. So the police can tell us that a person that is 10 to 15 because years in prison, because that's what Polish law Polish courts normally hand out to pedophiles, but on average, in fact, pedophiles in prison are kept no longer than 3.5 years, because they're let off for good behavior, they get ill, they're released on parole, whatever, and so all the efforts on the part of the police and so on is squandered if a pedophile is discharged from prison and then let loose and then not subject to any supervision. And this is how you can get in touch with us. Anybody interested in working with us and informing us, there's our website, www.dyżurnet.pl, where you'll find more information. You'll find links to other hotline teams around the world if you should be interested. You can also look up www.inhope.org.